Hello, this is Hiram LaRue from Poetry X Hunger, visiting today with Aaron R., who is a poet of note who lives in Northern Virginia, that's in the US. And he came on my screen by winning the first World Food Day Poetry Contest in 2018. We'll have more to say about that in a minute. Aaron records, edits, writes, and directs his own poetry videos. And if you haven't had a chance, you need to check out his YouTube site. I'll give you the address here in just a minute. He has also developed his own poetry initiative called Poetically Correct. So you can follow him on YouTube at going to YouTube and then just simply typing in Aaron R., the letter R, Aaron R. the poet, all one phrase, Aaron R. the poet. Or visit his website, Aaron R. poems plural.com. So, Aaron, it's a real pleasure to have you here on the Poetry X Hunger interview and really appreciate your time today.
Oh yeah, for sure. The pleasure's all mine. I owe you a lot to my poetry journey, so I'm sure we'll get into that. But always a pleasure and privilege to be able to sit down and talk to you. So
Great. Well, we really appreciate you lending your talents to the Poetry X Hunger Initiative. So you are a poetry leader and you are an advocate using poetry on a variety of causes, the fronts, social causes fronts. And so based on your experience using poetry, your own and others, to reach communities, especially young people,
yeah.
as well as others, what do you think the role of poetry is in helping to advance social causes like hunger prevention?
Yeah, I think it has a huge importance, and I think the role is to try to reach people in a different manner than they would normally be reached. I think it's important now as we start to see poetry evolve into more entertainment avenues. Some commercials are highlighting poets before they do different shows. They're having poetry as part of different, just a whole bunch of plethora of different events. So you may have a poet that comes in and does like a intro or an outro. And so I think it's very unique because poetry can have and take on a lot of different forms. And I think it is important because, with that being said, poetry has a way of reaching people that wouldn't be reached in any other type of atmosphere.
I agree. I agree. We often say that poetry can kind of reach out and grab you by the heart, by the
Mhm.
yin yangs, by the soul, by the spirit. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, definitely.
And
Definitely.
Aaron, I will never forget the time that you presented your poem, which we'll see a clip of here in just a minute, at a high level food discussion, policy discussion with a number of experts who, have been around the block talking about hunger. You got up
Right.
and presented, and I saw handhelds going down, pencils going or pens going down, and people looking up. They really, um, you brought your energies, your focus, your voice to bear, and people, really tuned in. So you're absolutely right. I think poetry can reach people in ways that other forms of communication simply can't.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I think that is a great example of just the way that it can be received versus somebody speaking, like educationally, which there's nothing wrong with that. But, sometimes like in a lecture format,
Yeah.
sometimes you can get so like desensitized to that. It's like you need like a shock of like, oh, this is the same information, but it's being presented in another way. Like you said, it just can capture your heartstrings or whatever that situation is.
Right, right. Well, you, as I mentioned in introducing you, you won the very first World Food Day Poetry Prize offered by the United Nations and Poetry X Hunger.
Mhm.
And you then went on to serve as far as I know, the first ever anywhere poet laureate working with a food bank. You worked with the Capital Area Food Bank in Washington, D.C. And so I'm just kind of curious, based on those experiences, uh, what do you think? Were they springboards to other experiences? What did those awards and those opportunities mean for you as a poet?
Yeah, thank you to you as well for those opportunities and things that came from winning the World Food Day poetry competition, like the Poet in Residence. I think it gave a lot of credibility to me as a poet. I think previously people just kind of saw me as, oh, this is just somebody else is just randomly writing poetry.
Mm.
I think doing those events, because I know that part of it was doing a video about those. And I think doing those events and the way that it captured people and the way that it is about something that's sensitive that everybody can relate to, I think that was something that to me made people look at me like, oh, this is somebody that was recognized by a major organization. You know, maybe this
Mm.
isn't somebody who's just randomly on the poetry scene talking about random stuff. So
Right.
I think it also, lended me to other opportunities. I know like Dr. Michael Anthony Ingram and his Quintessential Listening Poetry podcast. And so gave me the opportunity to be on there, which also allowed me to be able to have more credibility, I think, on amongst other poets. And I think that just helped me build a network and, help get into poetry groups and meet people virtually. And then from there, able to do some poetry contests on my own. And so I think that did give me kind of a solid foundation that I don't think I would have had without being able to win those contests. So I'm grateful for those opportunities
Well,
too.
you and your talents have taken advantage, I think, and worked out from and moved beyond those awards and a residency, as you say, to work more broadly. Your voice has been amplified by others, which I think is just wonderful. And you're doing some amazing work in a number of fields. And like I said, people should take a look at your YouTube channel to see kind of the full array of things that you're working on. But speaking of the power of the videography that you've done, I thought we would play back your recording of the winning poem for World Food Day Poetry that was written, I guess, back in 2018 and
Mhm. Yep.
performed very widely. So give me just 1 second here and I will cue it up for everyone to watch. This is an amazing poem and the video of it is pretty darn good. Let me make sure that we've got it full screen here and here we go. That's Aaron's website right there. You can see it. Aaron, can you see it on the screen?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, here we go. First prize winner.
In a world that's concerned with the economy and marketing numbers, how do we have people out here starving and dealing with hunger? We've come too far as nations to be facing this situation. So we have a plan, and 2030 is our destination. And I'm not talking about decreasing, I'm talking about elimination. So we don't have anybody starving in any nation. Speaking of nations, it's kind of strange to me that in this land of plenty of opportunity, there's people walking down the street without food to eat. We spend millions of dollars on entertainment, but that's another topic. There's people out here starving. We need to do something to stop it. We spend money on war, but we need to be at war with not feeding the poor. This is a situation we can no longer ignore. I mean, families with children walking around with their stomachs growling and sore. We owe it to each other to do so much more, so let's depend on each other and help one another. In order to stop world hunger, the world's gonna need one another. So my challenge to you And my challenge to me, do something small or large or independently, because together everyone achieves more. If we unite as a team, world hunger will be no more. We can achieve this dream. That sounds like a plan that's worth it to me. So let's all embark on this journey and do little by little, day by day, until 2030, and stop the hunger pains that stain our society. Thank you.
So that was, let me make sure I've turned everything off. Hold on just 1 second.
And we're getting closer to 2030. So, you know, we still got some work to do, right?
We do indeed. I think I've turned everything off there.
Yeah.
It was a powerful poem when you wrote it. And as you say, it's unfortunately all too relevant today. Hunger is still a huge, huge problem in our neighborhoods, in our states, in our country, around the world. So, Aaron, as we kind of wind down then, I wondered if you had any closing thoughts to viewers who will be looking at this and looking to you as an inspiration for writing poems about hunger or any other social cause. Anything that you'd like to share as we begin to wind down?
Yeah, I think one of the things that was important for me was just having those opportunities to see hunger in a deeper manner. So I think if there's anybody out there who was really passionate about it for sure, or looking for inspiration, going to a local food bank. I know you can usually find those in pretty much every city. Trying to find some way of volunteering, and it doesn't even have to be that long, but maybe 20 or 30 minutes, and it can really change, you know, the way that you look at things. And then also, I think if you're on the fence about whether or not this is going to be a good poem or not, just submit it. And I think that's one of the things with Poetry X Hunger that I know, Hiram, you do a great job of, is just having more people spread the word, even if they don't think it's, you know, book worthy or what have you, but just bringing awareness. And the more people that are aware and the more people that can find some attachment or can resonate with it, I think the better.
I really appreciate that, Aaron. Yes, indeed. We're looking for all kinds of expressions from all voices. So anyone who's written a piece, as you say, based on maybe even a short visit to a food bank or a school garden or a community garden, you should please feel free to submit it for possible publication on the website. We are using those poems, we're putting them to work to fight hunger. So Aaron, thank you so much for being here today and for sharing your talent, your voice, your energies, your inspiration with all of us at Poetry X Hunger and well beyond. Really appreciate it very much.
Yeah, appreciate you and anytime, my friend.
Very good. Thanks so much.
All righty.
Take care.